Some people grow up learning to wipe away other people's tears before they ever learn how to understand their own. They become the quiet rescuers, carrying storms they never created, holding together worlds that were never supposed to be theirs to fix. But behind their calm smile lies a lifelong question. Why do I feel responsible for everyone but myself? The psychology of people who feel responsible for everyone is a deeply emotional story, one that often begins in childhood, long before they can name the weight they carry. These individuals become the family fixer, the emotional adult in a home where actual adults are wounded, overwhelmed, or absent. Their identity forms around solving problems, calming conflict, and keeping everyone safe. This video takes us into the heart of their journey, how such a mindset is born, how it shapes their relationships and sense of self, and the moment they finally discover that saving others cannot replace the need to save themselves. Before we continue, I want you to know this isn't your everyday psychological talk. It's a heartfelt journey into why some people become the family fixer, how it shapes their identity, and the moment they finally learn to save themselves too. It often begins with a child who is watching everything too closely, a child who scans the room the way adults scan danger, listening for tension in voices, predicting the next argument, preparing for emotional storms like a tiny weather forecaster. This is the birthplace of emotional parentification. In homes filled with stress, inconsistency, or emotional chaos, this child becomes the steady one. Not because they want to, but because someone has to. When a parent struggles with finances, relationships, mental health, or their own unresolved trauma, children often step forward to fill the gaps. Maybe they learn to comfort a crying parent. Maybe they become the mediator between fighting adults. Maybe they raise their siblings as though they themselves are the parent. Every time they succeed, they are praised. You are so mature. You're the strong one. You're the one I can always count on. But what looks like strength is actually survival. And what looks like maturity is emotional labor far beyond their age. Psychologically, this forms one powerful belief. My worth comes from being needed. Over time, this belief becomes their identity. They become the problem solver, the peacekeeper, the emotional anchor. They notice others' pain before their own. They feel other people's fear more than they feel their own desires. And deep within them grows a second belief, one far heavier. If something goes wrong, it must be my fault. The child who grows up solving adult problems becomes an adult who still feels responsible for fixing everything. Friends, partners, co-workers, strangers, everyone. This chapter reveals a psychological truth. Many helpers never chose their role. It was assigned to them, and they carried it because the alternative, letting someone they loved fall apart, felt unbearable. From this early shaping, their life path is quietly, powerfully altered. They become adults who can handle everything, yet feel empty inside. Adults who anticipate problems before they happen. Adults who apologize even when someone else is wrong. Adults who carry guilt, worry, and responsibility like a second skin. This is not kindness, it is conditioning. It is the survival strategy of a child who once had no other choice. When that same child grows into adulthood, their patterns remain. Only now, the world sees them as heroic. They are the friend who listens at 2 a.m., the partner who forgives too quickly, the employee who takes on extra work so others won't struggle. People call them dependable, thoughtful, caring. Inside, they call themselves something else, exhausted. Years of emotional caretaking turn into a deeply wired reflex. They walk into a room and immediately check the emotional temperature. They take responsibility for everyone's reactions. They feel guilty when someone is upset, even when they had nothing to do with it. Psychologists call this hyper-responsibility, a trait common in those who were parentified as children. It is rooted in the belief that if they don't manage everything, everything will fall apart. This creates several patterns: over-apologizing for things they didn't cause, taking blame to maintain peace, fixing people instead of letting them face consequences, avoiding conflict because their nervous system equates it with danger, becoming the emotional sponge for everyone around them. They are the silent healers in their relationships, but they pay for it with their own emotional hunger. Their partners may feel cared for, but they often fail to notice the depth of this invisible labor. Friends rely on them heavily, unaware that their constant support is actually a trauma response, not simply kindness. Inside, the fixer holds a quiet truth. They help everyone else because they don't know how to help themselves. They understand emotions, but not their own. They offer comfort, but were never truly comforted. And the most painful part? They don't know how to ask for help. To ask feels dangerous, like burdening someone else, like breaking their lifelong rule of being the strong one. This chapter exposes the heartbreaking irony. People who feel responsible for everyone often suffer alone. They solve problems they never created. They rescue people who never thank them. They hold space for others while shrinking themselves. They are admired for their strength, but misunderstood in their suffering. And deep down, a question begins to whisper. Who would I be if I wasn't always saving someone? There comes a moment in every fixer's life when the weight becomes too heavy. It may happen during burnout, heartbreak, or sudden emotional collapse. Something triggers the realization that their self-worth is tied to self-sacrifice, and that this is slowly breaking them. Sometimes it's a friend who constantly takes but never gives. Sometimes it's a partner who treats their kindness like a service. Sometimes it's the sudden emptiness after years of saving everyone else. The silence after burnout is often the clearest moment of their life. Psychologically, this is when the inner child, the one who grew up carrying too much, finally speaks. I'm tired. I want someone to take care of me for once. I never got to be a child. This chapter details the emotional unraveling. They begin to question the roles they've played. They realize that responsibility was forced upon them, not freely chosen. And they finally see the truth. The weight of other people's emotions was never theirs to carry. With this realization comes grief. Grief for the childhood they never lived. Grief for the needs they silenced. Grief for all the years they spent being strong instead of safe. But with the grief comes clarity, an awakening. They begin to understand boundaries not as walls, but as self-respect. They start recognizing that not everyone's anger is their fault. Not everyone's sadness is their responsibility. Not everyone's chaos is theirs to solve. For the first time, they sit with their own emotions and discover how unfamiliar this feels. This chapter explores their internal transformation. The fixer stops being the automatic savior. They learn that love is not earned through sacrifice. They learn that being needed is not the same as being valued. They learn that taking care of themselves is not abandonment of others. The world does not collapse when they say no. People do not fall apart when they stop carrying everything. The weight they thought was theirs dissolves once they set it down, and they realize something profound. Their worth was never tied to the burdens they carried. It was always tied to who they are beneath the armor of responsibility. Healing begins not with a dramatic change, but with small, quiet acts of self-kindness. The fixer starts to recognize their right to rest, their right to boundaries, their right to emotional support. They learn to say phrases that once felt impossible. I can't do this right now. I care, but this is not my responsibility. I need help. I matter too. These words feel shaky at first, like trying to walk after years of carrying heavy loads. But with each step, they reclaim their identity, not as a savior, but as a human being. Psychologically, this phase is about reparenting themselves, giving their inner child the love, safety, and protection they never received. They recognize the patterns created by guilt, fear, and obligation, and they begin rewriting them. Their relationships shift too. Some people pull away because they were attracted to the fixer's self-sacrifice. Others adapt, learning to meet them halfway. And in these new boundaries, the fixer discovers something they never knew they needed: mutual care. They realize they can still love deeply, but without losing themselves. They can still help others, but without carrying their lives. They can still be strong, but not at the cost of their own well-being. And as they step into a healthier self, they experience something unfamiliar but beautiful. Freedom. Freedom from the guilt that once controlled them. Freedom from the belief that they are responsible for everyone's happiness. Freedom to prioritize their dreams, their healing, their future. This chapter ends with a psychological truth that ties the entire journey together. Healing isn't about becoming less caring. It's about learning that caring for yourself is also an act of love. They finally learn to save themselves, not instead of others, but alongside them. And for the first time, their heart feels light. Not because they carry less, but because they finally understand they were never meant to carry everything. Thank you for watching.